Sandbags that they've been looking at for weeks now, but officials say the sandbags around the River des Peres and the Mississippi will stay up for at least several more days.
We're concerned at 43 feet, but like I said, we have been up to 49.8 feet and our levees held, and we've been through this before, and we're hoping that if it goes to 43, we're prepared.
And here in St. Charles, the Missouri River is rising again. Officials expect it to come up about another foot before it crests by the end of the week. Now, this surprise by nature is causing some confusing signals about the collection of sandbags. 2 days ago, the city of St. Charles issued a news release asking residents to place sandbags in the street at the curb, and they will be picked up by city equipment. Today, the St. Charles County Emergency Management Agency sent out a news release warning residents to refrain from removing sandbags prematurely.
Always be on guard. Always be prepared to be able to change gears. We always have to be flexible. That's why we have a stockpile of sandbags already filled, just in the event. November is always our wettest month of the year anyway. With the levees gone, with the levees not being rebuilt possibly before next spring, we're going to be on guard.
Now, in addition to those new crests, emergency management officials say they are hearing from National Weather Service meteorologists and other meteorologists about a developing weather system that may bring more heavy rain to the Midwest, a system similar to the one that dumped storms that began this whole flood in the first place. Meteorologist John Fuller will be along later in our newscast here to update us on our changing weather development. One thing we have learned from this whole flood disaster is to expect the unexpected. Reporting live from Levee, I'm Dan Gray, News Channel 5. Back to you, Karen and Rick.
Well, Dan, down there, especially along the River des Peres, what kind of condition is that levee in now? How are those sandbags still holding up, the ones that are still up?
Well, they are holding, but as the Emergency Management Official Director Jim White told me tonight, every day that goes by, it takes more integrity out of that levee. It weakens it just a little bit. Now with the rising waters coming in, with new crests coming in, it could probably deteriorate these levees a little more each day. So far, there are no evacuation or any new evacuation orders being talked about yet, but it's something that they are considering here in St. Louis County and in St. Charles County, putting out the word to people to have a heads up. If you're moving back into your home, be prepared to move out in a short amount of time again.
Possibly yet another problem.
Thanks,
all right,
Dan.
Dan, thank you. Well, the higher water should roll through the St. Louis area in the next few days.
And News Channel 5's John Fuller has the complete river stage forecast for us now from the Weather Center. John?
Karen and Rick, it looked as though we were making some progress with the recession of the local rivers, but with last night's rainfall tallies piling up, the rivers began to climb. And here are some of the totals. 3.06 inches of rain at Lambert Field. Way out in Owensville, up to 8 inches, a whopping 8 inches of precipitation. And we weren't alone. Across much of Missouri into Illinois, along the Missouri River Valley, the Mississippi River Valley, and the Illinois River Valley, there were 3 to 6 inches of precipitation. So the rivers are going to be recresting over the weekend. At St. Louis, it will crest about 2.5 feet higher than it was today at 43 feet. At Chester, it will crest at 46.5 feet. Now, remember that August 1st, we had a crest of 49.4 feet, so we have a little bit of a buffer before we reach that all-time record crest that occurred about 2 weeks ago. Missouri River at St. Charles today, 33.8 feet. It will climb about another half foot. The biggest or most significant increases will be seen on the smaller river. Merrimack River will crest at 24 to 25 feet. At Valley Park, at Eureka, 23 to 24 feet. We are seeing a little bit of precipitation on Doppler 5 radar. We'll check that and the weekend forecast, and it shows a little bit of a similar weather situation that we had a little bit ago, about 2 weeks ago, that brought us all the big flooding. We'll check on that coming up in about 10 minutes. Karen?
Thanks, John. We have to continue to be cautious here.
Ooh.
Well, merchants in South St. Louis suffering financial losses because of the flooding took some positive steps tonight.
The South Broadway Merchants Association made a slew of community, city, state, and federal officials available to answer questions. On the Night Beat, News Channel 5's Ken Jones joins us now from the newsroom to tell us if merchants heard what they needed to hear. Ken?
Well, Rick, it just depends. Really, to be honest with you, not much was resolved tonight. This was just a regular monthly meeting of the South Broadway Merchants Association. Their aim, however, was just to have officials answer questions, lead people in the right direction, and maybe allow some folks to vent some frustrations.
Tom Sweetsy, like a lot of his fellow merchants, is pretty frustrated tonight. The water is gone, but that was really never the problem for him.
I'm concerned about possibly next week or the week after Some of my major customers that lived in the area got relocated and aren't going to be moving back or started shopping someplace else. I have to replace that business.
Sweezy lost all of his perishable merchandise when he evacuated after propane tanks owned by Phillips 66 threatened the area during the flood. Sweezy now wants to recoup his losses, just like everyone attending this meeting in the Carondelet neighborhood.
The first thing we hope to accomplish is to be able to tie in some of the small business people down here in Carondelet with some of the key players in the rebuilding process.
A lot of folks wanted to talk to this man, George Patterson from Phillips 66.
We are addressing individuals' needs first.
But he was a little intimidated by the crowd and would only speak to a few people at a time as long as cameras weren't present.
What he wants us to do, the businesses, is fill out paperwork, document all the losses that we've incurred in the week that we were evacuated and due to the flooding that happened in our businesses while we were gone, and send that to their attention.
Of course, a lot of people have questions tonight, especially residents who came here and found out they're not invited to this meeting.
We were just told that no, we weren't going to be allowed to ask questions. We could sit in on the meeting, but it was for merchants. And we've been in contact with Phillips, and all we get on the telephone from them is send us a letter and someone will get back to you.
Well, despite some discontent, most everyone was pretty calm at the meeting tonight, and FEMA, the City of St. Louis, and the Small Business Administration plan to set up mobile offices in the area coming this Monday. Back to you, Karen.
Thanks, Ken.
All right, Ken, thank you. Well, more help is on the way for flood victims tonight. President Clinton signed the $6.3 billion flood relief package today during a stopover here in St. Louis. But as Deanne Lane reports in the Night Beat, the president's mission was actually twofold.
This is the president's fourth visit to the Midwest since the Mississippi spilled its banks, leaving thousands homeless in its wake.
We know we cannot contain the fury of a river, but we can and we must allow our humanity to overflow as well, to help to reclaim the lives that are shattered. That is what I have seen happen here in the Midwest.
Governor Carnahan made his pitch for additional funding today. Congress could unveil a second wave of flood relief this fall, but no one is talking specific numbers.
The Missouri town of Kimmswick, recently in the flood news, tonight is talking casino. Lady Luck Kimmswick unveiled plans for a casino and hotel complex in the Jefferson County town. The plans call for a 1,500-passenger gambling boat and a 400-room hotel. A Lady Luck spokesman says the project will eventually generate 3,000 casino jobs as well as 1,000 construction jobs up front. The casino group says it is not worried about future flooding in the area.